Hello.
Hello, Dan.
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah, man. It is 9:30.
Yeah. We're starting
You
on
ready?
time the 2 weeks in a row.
Wow, it's almost like we know what we're doing.
Yeah,
So,
almost.
almost. Let's get started.
All right.
Oh yeah, buddy. This should be the podcast, episode 6, where we're talking about
You
masks and graduation songs.
I asked you what we're talking about and you said Fauci stuff. So
Well, yeah, we'll get there.
that could be the trending hashtag Fauci stuff.
Hashtag Fauci stuff. Okay. So we were talking a little earlier. I'm really proud of that terrible Photoshop. I'm going to keep those going
Yeah,
as
I
best
think
as best as I can.
the cruder the better.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get better at it. So, I mean, think incrementally I will get, better by accident. So,
It looks like one of those like when like a video like doesn't decompress right and it's playing and everything goes like
oh, yeah, man. That makes a lot of sense. All right, right off the bat, I want to try something if it's okay.
All right, go.
I want to see if these comments are working. If they don't, they don't.
I just saw test.
Oh, cool. Then yes, it is working. All right, and we're going live. Cool. Hey, man, we're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook, and the comment worked on Facebook anyway.
That means we
So,
have about 5 minutes till we get canceled.
Yes. Now the world knows what we're doing. That's the
Yeah.
problem. All right, let me open all these up. Yeah, well, there we go. Cool. I think we're good to go. Sweet.
I've gotten about one comment per week on my YouTube channel saying I thought this was Dan Cummins, the comedian. So we're still going strong on that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. We don't need anybody to really know who you are or he is. It's good at being confused. I looked a little bit at some of his stuff and whatever. He's funnier than me. So I'll give him that. I don't know. That's not hard. Ooh. Was there a fan on or something?
Yeah, that was my air conditioner.
That's what it was. That was that humming I was getting.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I forgot.
buddy.
Yeah,
You forgot to tell me that one.
It was 90 degrees today.
Nice. All right. Well, let's get started. Hey, listen. So you, I think, hate Anthony Fauci a little bit more than I do. Or maybe not.
I was gonna say the opposite. I wouldn't
Really?
I wouldn't use the H word.
Oh,
but, I
well,
mean-
you talk more crap about him in our private chats.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll say it this way, and this may be an interesting topic: is people who are really good at one thing who get thrust into a situation outside of their element.
Yeah.
I think I've always found that fascinating in whatever field it is. So I don't dislike him. He seems like, as a person, I just think that he is.
You don't know him as a person.
No, but you can tell about
you can't
people.
judge him. Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I'm
You know
just
how
kidding.
you compared to the average person in Washington, he seems like a okay dude. Like I don't think he would, you know what I mean? Like I don't think these conspiracy theories where they're like Fauci engineered the virus in order to destroy our economy. I don't think he has any nefarious goals or anything like that. I think he genuinely wants to help. However, there's, a lot of good road paving material towards hell, as they say, good intentions and all
yes.
that. So, yeah.
So meaning like-
so
like-
I
like
kind
he's
of
good-
I sympathize with the guy,
Right.
and it would be nice. I feel like maybe he doesn't have quite the stones to say what would be uncomfortable for people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me sitting in my chair talking crap about a person with way more responsibility than I'll ever have. So
Yes, that's for sure.
with that as it said, anyway, we can get into that a little bit later. But so it's mostly just that I think he's out of his element a little bit, and just because you might be a competent scientist or doctor or something doesn't mean that. But then you take that person and you thrust them into a situation where they're having to make recommendations that immediately become public policy.
Yeah, for like 300 million people. Right.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
And I think I don't know. Yeah, I can't say. We can get into more later. Go ahead.
No, yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think that's fair. Yeah, I don't think the guy. Well, I don't know if the guy's a bad guy or not, but I mean, he's been wrong or he's been self-contradictory the whole time. So, rather not as a moral judgment, but as a practical judgment, he sucks at what he's doing. Jesse sucks at what he's doing, or maybe nobody can be good at what he's doing. Maybe that's a fair assessment.
Yeah,
and that's probably true as well. Actually, I know that's true. That's absolutely true. There shouldn't be one person setting public health policy, or at least being the guiding source for public health policy for 50 people, let alone 300 million people. Like a doctor can barely do that for his patients, let alone a whole nation of hugely different people across wildly large swaths of land and circumstances and health variants and all sorts of stuff. So it's you're probably right. It's probably an impossible position, but that doesn't mean that the guy still hasn't been wrong and probably overall detrimental. I mean, he stepped into the role and he accepted it and he's doing it, and it's a detrimental thing, I think.
As much as I want to give
the criticism.
Yeah, I mean, it's like as much as I would say I give him leeway to be like it's a hard job. It's like, well, he's not being forced to do this at gunpoint, right?
Yeah, no joke. Yeah,
he knows when he's saying something that is not very accurate. We don't exactly know, like with the benefit of hindsight, we don't really know exactly what they knew when. All we know is that cumulatively, there's been statements made from this perspective, and so there's lots of contradictory statements. So we don't really know what the mindset of him and all the people were, as far as if they were deliberately trying to say, all right, well, we know this is wrong, so we're going to say it anyway. Or if in the case, like with the masks originally, where it was, they came out later and it was a conscious decision to say, oh, don't wear the masks, when that was an obvious lie.
That's a pretty good Fauci. That's not bad. It's better than I could do. It was good.
So it's like, and they might try to justify it by like, well, it was an ends justify the means kind of situation. Yeah, but nobody's forcing you to do that. Right. He could have the moral fortitude to say, you know what, I'm being put in a situation where I'm having to say things outside of my area of expertise. I'm going to have to let this one go, or something
you
like
could
that.
say that. Right.
And I think people would respect him for that. But he's not doing that. He's continuing to talk anytime somebody puts a microphone in his face. And he says whatever feels like the right thing to say at the moment. And that's a problem because this is not an exact science. Right. I feel like it's almost like he's scared to say we don't know.
Yes. I think that's a really fair, accurate.
Everybody was really scared, and at the outset, especially people in the media, because they love a good panic. And so they're like, what do we do? What do we do? We need guidance. And he's like, well, I don't know if I have the stones to resist the temptation of being, is like, somebody comes up to you and they want to make you the arbiter of everything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's a hard temptation to resist for anyone. Sure. We're going to consider you our expert, and you're going to be the person who gets to challenge the president and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's a hard temptation to resist. So
this is true. Yeah. And this will probably come up a bunch to you, as you kind of already said it with the mask thing at the beginning. And then what I just immediately jumped to, was it a lie, or was it on purpose, or was it just obfuscation, or was it well-meaning intentions kind of things? But I mean, then the information that he puts out, also when I say him, I'll probably get a vacillate back and forth between the CDC and the World Health Organization at times, like accidentally in my mind. But that's what I'm gonna. And so this whole concept of an authority. So when they say something, if you were to contradict it over this past year, you were seen as an absurd, grandma killing, conspiracy theorist, anti-science nutcase.
Right.
And then literally weeks later, they would come up and say the exact opposite of what they said previously, where, not you and me, because we have no public profiles that make a difference, but there are people who lost huge, online presences like on Facebook, on YouTube, or got strikes on YouTube, or got not fined, but like lost their monetization for saying things that contradicted these guys who didn't have the stones or the wherewithal or the honesty to say, we're going with our best guess here, people. This is what we think. And that's being charitable, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's going to come up a lot. I just know that because that's what's frustrated me the whole time.
Yeah.
So maybe if you catch some anti-Fauciism in me when we're talking, it's the whole frustration of the overall cultural significance given to this dude and to these people, and then the hammer that drops when you go, I don't know, maybe not, maybe I don't agree with you,
Right.
and you're not allowed to do that.
It doesn't necessarily make him a bad person, but it makes him kind of a crappy scientist.
Yes. Yeah,
right,
he's never spoken out against that, right? He's never gone, hey, man, again, we've already said this. He's never said, I don't really know. Take this for what it's worth with a grain of salt. He's also never said, there's a lot of people who probably disagree with me, and you might want to listen to them. Like, that's never come out of his mouth. Not once.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm not. Maybe that's not accurate. I mean,
it's certainly not the typical message, right?
No.
I mean,
no.
He tends to basically, the main thing that he backpedal, well, not backpedals, but like he kind of pulls his punches anytime somebody asks him about another person who's like doing some ridiculously paranoid thing. Like there was this, I saw this interview where they were asking like, so they're doing like summer camps like this summer, and they're forcing all the kids to like wear masks, like even when they're outdoors and stuff. And it's ridiculous. And so he's like, well, that does feel, it probably sounds a little bit overly conservative, to our ears, but it's not that unreasonable. And it was just like, he didn't have, the wherewithal to be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'm not saying these people are bad, but there's no science to support that. It's that ultimate like liability kind of mindset where it's like, just take the most cautious approach at all times.
Yeah, it's CYA all the way. There's no way.
Right.
It's not. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it would be funny for the director of like national health to just go cuckoo bananas, just say that as a response.
Yeah.
But, that's not going to happen.
Very few people get called out when they incorrectly predict a disaster, right?
Yes.
Like, but if you don't predict a disaster and a disaster happens, then it's like, who do we blame, right? So if somebody says there's going to be an earthquake next week, and then the earthquake doesn't happen, nobody goes and finds that guy and says, hey, you know what I mean? Like you said, there was going to be an earthquake and it didn't happen, so we're going to string you up. But if you say there will not be an earthquake and then an earthquake happens, and that's like, we got to have somebody to blame. So with these kind of people, it's like, well, if they're wrong on the overly paranoid side versus being wrong on the overly not paranoid side, clearly this one has more potential for blowback. Right. So,
yes.
I'm sorry, the other way around, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When in doubt, close. It's like school districts. I'm always complaining about how like in Durham County, because there's like an elevation difference between like North Durham County and lower, like anytime there's snow, it really much only affects like the top part. But the problem is the school district would like close the schools, and it's like 65 degrees and there's no snow on the ground in South Durham, but then up in Bahama, there's like, a couple of inches but they have to close all the schools because 3 buses can't get to these particular. So it's like,
correct.
Because then everybody kept complaining about it. They're closing the schools. And so then like one time, they were like, all right, fine. We're going to stop closing the schools at the drop of a hat. And then it just so happened that like a week later, there was like this crazy storm came through. It was like September. So it was like hurricane season. And there was like a tornado in Durham. And then somebody had some viral footage of like a school bus driving through like 3 feet of water. Like it's like 7 in the morning, and everybody's like, our kids are out waiting for the bus in a hurricane weather. And then the school district person was like, oh crap, what are we going to do? How do we get ahead of this?
Right.
So I don't envy anybody in a government position where they have to like make one choice that affects all the people. That's
So it's just tailor made for my worldview. It'd be like, this person shouldn't exist. So like, I'm willing to give that benefit of the doubt, and I'm willing to give that grace there. But also, he's still probably a jerk. But I'm sure he's a nice guy in real life. It was funny because, like, I remember, like, you mentioned the masks, and that one is the most egregious thing. It really is. I mean, even if it was for the greater good, sorry, man, you can't lie to people for the greater good. It's just not. It's not good. It's not moral. It's not right. And like, he wasn't wrong about that. He wasn't mistaken. It was deliberate to say, you don't need masks. Don't get masks. And in the back of his head, what they're saying is, we want masks for the medical professionals. Now, if you had just said that, what's the problem with saying that? Just say, look, man, we need masks.
People probably wouldn't have listened, and they would have hoarded the masks like they do with toilet paper.
People hoarded the mask anyway, but that didn't matter. People still hoarded the mask.
Yeah. And the problem is that it now, you remember there was a meme somewhere where it was like anytime somebody says, what would Jesus do? And it says, remember that chasing people with whips and throwing over tables is always on the table.
It's always an option. Yeah. It's always an
option. Right. And so it's like with this, it's like, okay, well, after this episode where they said this thing and it clearly was not accurate. Now the idea that anything they say could potentially be wrong with some ostensibly good reason behind it. So now we have good reason to believe that anything they say after this is suspect.
Well, that's where I'm at with it, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can't hear anything these people say without going, man, I'm not an expert in this, but there are some other people out there who are, and I'm going to listen. I'm going to look around for some counter stuff before I make my decision. Yeah. And that's just for me, for sure.
Which is fine. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, people say, like, they don't.
Pretty wise anyway.
I'm okay with the idea that they don't know everything because I understand that the world is a complicated place.
Right.
Like, and so, I mean, that's what science is. Science is saying, I don't know. And then if you're a scientist and you're going to say the words, I know, you got to earn that. You know what I mean? And a good scientist takes that seriously. They know that, like, okay, well, I got to make sure. And that's what peer review is. I mean, that's what all this stuff. The scientific method is designed so that when you get to a sentence that starts with the words, I know, that you're not taking it lightly. So, I mean, I would deal with this in my job. I fix computers and do networks and things like that. And I have learned, or at least, it makes it easier for me. Like, I've learned that, like, I'm not going to say something like I know something unless I really do. And that may have costs in the short term. Like if somebody's asking me a question, they're like, well, when can we do this? Can we do this? Is this going to work? And I go, well, I would like to say I know the answer to that. I don't. I mean, I'm going to do my best, and here's what I think is likely. It would be easy for me to just kind of like fudge the truth a little bit and be like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. But selfishly, almost, I know that the blowback if I'm wrong is worse than if I could just deal with a little bit of uncomfortableness for the next 30 seconds. Say that, yeah, I don't really know the answer. I mean, nothing's, I can't predict. You know what I mean? Like if somebody says my Wi-Fi is too slow, I'm like, all right, well, we can do what we can in here, but I can't control spectrum.
This is true.
So, I feel like the problem that these people have had is that they're, I don't know, maybe when you got 15 cameras and microphones all in your face, and there's millions of people waiting to make decisions, it's really probably be very hard to have the bravery to say, yeah, I don't know, and deal with that uncomfortableness times 1,000.
It would be a very boring daily briefing press conference because for a while there it was like daily, like Trump was up there, he was up there, and if he just went up there, went, I don't know, I got nothing, I don't know, we're working on it, we'll come up with something.
Which is
Trump
would be the exact. It's funny that Trump and Fauci almost had sort of the same problem, but on different sides of the coins. Because Trump he has no problem saying, "Oh yeah, this is definitely what it is," right? With like, no proof at all.
I was like, isn't there a thing where we can take UV light and put it in you, and then it'll kill the virus? And he's like, no, I don't know. I don't, we haven't talked about that yet. I'm not sure what you're talking about. He's like, I read it somewhere. All right, but back to you.
No, but did you hear that? Then the company that there was right after Trump said that
he was right.
He was right.
That beautiful son of a bitch. He was right.
And the company that does tech, I mean, he wasn't phrasing it right, but there is some science, and the company that does that was like, actually, we've been working on some of that, and then they got booted off Twitter.
Yeah. No, all that, yeah, exactly, right. So it's like the hydrochloroquine thing, whatever. That came out, and like Trump was pushing it, and the media just went, "Nah, Trump's retarded. You cannot listen to him. You will die if you take that." And it turns out it's actually.
And then there was a lady. Did you hear about the husband and wife?
Oh yeah, well that lady just wanted to kill her husband.
Yeah,
that's my theory. She's like, have this fish cleaner, honey. Look, Trump says.
For people who don't know what that was, there was a lady who hydroxychloroquine, and then she looked in her pantry and saw there was a box that had some hydroxychloroquine, but it was fish tank cleaner, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And so I don't remember if it was like she took it and then she gave some to her husband or vice versa, but the husband died. And
well, did he die?
I think one of them died. I think he died and she got really sick, but I could be. That was over a year.
You think
ago.
it was like during the Princess Bride, like the whole cup exchange scene? Like which cup is it?
I don't know.
Like,
There's a couple different versions that it could be, but
I think you're right. I think he did die.
if you wanted to kill someone, that would be a. That's. I mean,
especially if he was like a MAGA dude. His last words were just like MAGA, and he died. He's like the Donald really let him
steal.
Stop. That was too. Oh, Dan. Well, he'd be a prophet if he did it then. That was like last spring or something, spring or early summer.
So, my favorite of the whole flip flop things is. Have you seen? I love those videos where Rand Paul and Fauci are arguing.
They are brilliant. Rand Paul's the best senator. He's
really one of the few people in Washington that's trustworthy.
Yeah,
but like, and so the whole thing where he's like, yeah, there's no evidence, where he basically is pinning on him. He's like saying, he's like, we did not fund any gain of function research. And then Rand Paul's like, okay, well, you were in charge of the blah, 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 blah. And then they funded this and that's not gain. He's like, well, no. And then he just kept catching him in all these sort of technicalities or whatever.
Right.
And then like, 3 weeks later, it's like, well, first he was saying it was impossible. The whole, if you said like, and I remember hearing this last year, the idea that the coronavirus came from a Wuhan lab because they were messing around with stuff and it escapes and it happens to get somebody infected. Like, to me, that doesn't sound crazy at all. I mean, the world's a crazy place.
No, of course not. Yeah.
And I heard that last year. I'm like, that sounds totally plausible. Let's look into that.
It'd be like the virus breaks out in Atlanta, a block from the CDC like headquarters, and they're like,
yeah,
nah, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was like the Ted Turner Ferris wheel down there that did something.
Right. But if you said that last year, they would say that you're like fear-mongering, conspiracy, crazy person.
Right.
And then
that was not a loud opinion.
If you track Fauci's responses to that sentence, like they get progressively less dismissive. Right. He's like, that's crazy. And then he gets like, well, there's no evidence. And he's like, there's not much evidence. And then he's like, it's impossible. It's not, you know what I mean? And so it's like.
And like literally this month, he's like, he thinks it's possible. That's like the big news this week, really. Because like Fauci.
And he's trying to CYA by saying we should definitely look into it. He's trying to get out ahead of it.
No, for sure. And like also just early on though, it wasn't just there's no evidence. He's like, and here's why it's definitely an animal, and here's why it's the wet markets, and here's why this like SARS COVID, whatever the first SARS virus was like from a camel or something stupid like that. That's not true. But like whatever animal they have, they're like this is the tracking. It's always from an animal. It's from an animal. Stop asking that question.
Well, the two theories could work together. I mean, like the idea that it was some sort of because I mean, my very, very basic understanding is that we don't really have the ability to like completely synthesize a virus, right? But what we can do is we can mess around with viruses that do exist with the cellular structure and come up with ways of making them more or less infectious and all this kind of stuff. And so, that's what they were doing. And to be fair, it's possible that all these people are doing this for the good of mankind, right? If we understand how it works, then we can understand how to fight it. Yep. Okay. Now, but is it also possible that knowing what we know about human beings, that there are some people somewhere who are like, all right, let's figure out how to make this the worst possible virus just so we have it, so that before the other people have it, right? If you wanted to go down like the Dr. Strangelove rabbit hole, right? Like we got to have this before somebody else does, right? You remember that movie where they were like, well, we have to, what if there's nuclear annihilation? It's like, well, if the Russians are building mine shafts, we need to be building mine shafts too. If they're building H-bombs, we got to build H-bombs. So you can't tell me that somebody somewhere hasn't thought like, okay, well, if this country over here, if it's the Chinese saying America's building super viruses, we need to be building super viruses too. So I have actually no evidence of that, but it's certainly not impossible given what we know about people.
Yeah, no,
so,
I agree.
So the idea that like even setting that aside, that people are working on the stuff, trying to understand it and knowing what we know about, China's opinions on human rights and stuff like that. What do we think about their safety protocols versus those in America, right? The idea that something like that would inadvertently escape. I mean, how is that even remotely impossible?
No,
you know what I mean? Sure. As opposed to the idea that somebody ate a bat somewhere. I mean, that's possible too. I mean, people are weird.
We all know how AIDS started, Dan. They weren't eating monkeys. Also, Dr. Fauci, very involved. HIV vaccines. Not vaccines or treatments.
He's been very involved with a lot of stuff.
He's been in the government a long time, dude. He's been like for the last 35, 40 years or something like that. And not in that exact position, but like in
I had a guy
role.
say that to me. Like I made some comment on Facebook. It was like, oh, Fauci something or other, some sort of cynical comment. And the guy was like, well, he's been in public service for decades. So, the guy knows what he's doing. I'm like, those two halves of the sentence don't necessarily go together. Like somebody's
2 words, Joe Biden.
By that logic, Joe Biden should be like the lion of America.
Right, exactly. Bonkers stuff. Yeah, so gosh, what was it? So we were talking about like some of the other back and forths. So we just landed on the what did Rand Paul say? That was the one you had. I'm sorry.
The Wuhan lab thing.
Like, the Wuhan lab. But like just a couple of weeks ago, there's another, or maybe it was like April or maybe March. Like him and Rand Paul got into a fight over masks after vaccinations. Right. So like Fauci's sitting there talking to him, and they're in the House chamber or the Senate chamber or whatever. He's vaccinated. He's wearing 2 masks, and Rand Paul's like, "I'm no doc. Oh wait, no, I am a doctor. Okay, granted, he's an eye doctor, but he's a doctor, and he's just like, look, man, you're vaccinated. You got immunity. Why are you sitting here in 2 masks? Isn't this a little bit?" We'll use the term theater. He's like, no, it's not theater. It's not theater. No, this is the CDC guidelines. Like you have to wear a mask after you're vaccinated, and that's it. That is crazy town. It really is. There's no reason to wear a mask after you're vaccinated. Even the CDC, or no, that's not even the CDC. So the CDC for a long time was saying that you have to wear a mask after you're vaccinated, and then just like 2 or 3 weeks ago, now you don't. It's great. Nope, no problem. You're not gonna wear a mask anymore.
So at which point were they lying?
Or which point were they derelict in their freaking ability to tell you what to do?
Because there's no way.
Which one is it?
There's no way that both of those positions are accurate at the same time.
Correct. Oh, Dan. So let me show you this. Here we go.
All right.
Let's see the things that you couldn't do a month ago if you were vaccinated. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. So fully vaccinated people on the right.
I love how they included wheelchair roll. That's very inclusive.
This is the strangest freaking thing I've ever seen in my life. You can't attend a crowded event like a live performance, parade, or sporting event. You can't visit a barber or a hair salon. That's very specific. You can't go to an uncrowded indoor shopping center. Go to an uncrowded indoor. So if you're vaccinated and you go to an uncrowded area, you still have to wear a mask. You can't ride public transport. You can't attend a small indoor gathering. You can't go to a movie theater or attend a worship service that's full capacity. Sing in an indoor chorus because everyone does that. Eat at a restaurant or a bar. Man, you couldn't even eat at a restaurant that's not even like uncrowded restaurant. That just says if you're fully vaccinated, you can't eat in an indoor restaurant or bar unless you wear a mask. Like there's just no.
These descriptions are ridiculous because they're so unspecific. Like,
yes, I agree.
Like it doesn't specify like how many people are in the movie theater, and it doesn't specify like
right.
Yeah, it's
okay. But then what is this? This was more graphics. May 18th. So what? Last week. So there you go. You fully vaccinated people no longer need to wear masks indoor or outdoor, regardless of the gathering size. That was in like a 3-week span of each other. They literally posted that thing. Everybody made fun of them hard. And then 3 weeks later, they said, nah, you're good. You go to town.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So like what changed? Nothing changed. Is it possible that something changed and they were just so terrible at explaining their metrics to the populace? I don't know. I don't think so. Again, I'm trying to be charitable here, and I'm not trying to use the words like
maybe they're saying some sort of thing about the percentage of adults that are vaccinated.
But why did they say that? Like it wasn't
because the person making that graphic was dumb.
No, not the graphic, but like these stories don't say, "Hey, now that we've met X threshold, you no longer have to wear that mask if you're fully vaccinated." They just said, "You know what? You don't got to do it."
Yeah, it was. Well, maybe it was a correct. Okay, so when the vaccine first started getting widely distributed, it was like I remember being irritated because they're like, well, you still have to wear a mask. And people being like, well, why do I have to wear the damn mask if I just got the vaccine? Like,
Right.
even in the most healthy of situations, like, I took the vaccine and I got pretty sick both times, for like 18 hours. It wasn't bad, but it was annoying. It's like, why did I go through that if it's not going to benefit me at all? And by benefit, I mean, is it going to allow me to walk around without a mask or not? And so a lot of people were saying, like, yeah, look, people, if you keep telling people that they're going to have to continue, like that getting the vaccine doesn't benefit them at all, like, you know what I mean?
They're not
Like,
going to get the vaccine.
Yeah, exactly. Because you got a whole population of specifically young people who are not really in danger of coronavirus in the first place. So now they go to a vaccine. The vaccine is most usually worse than the virus was or could be. It's like, well, why are they going to do that? Especially if they know that even after that, they still have to wear it. So, yeah, it's a question of, so I think maybe they figured that out and they're like, oh, crap. All right, well, we got to give them something, like give them a carrot on the end of the stick. How about this? If you were
That's like months down the road. I guess that's possible. It took them that long to figure that out.
Well, it's government, and it's a very slow train.
Yeah. That's possible. Yeah, agreed. That's crazy town if that's what it is. But
again, it's just like that's just like the first mask thing. You're clearly, anytime that you go whoosh on an opinion, what you're doing is demonstrating that, you go from one extreme to the other. Both extremes can't be true at once. Mm-hmm. So you're basically proving that the idea that you're saying something that's not true, they're just reminding people that they have a capacity to do that. They're basically telling people, don't trust us or always be skeptical, which you and I are always skeptical anyway. But, by that point, they've already created a whole army of,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so what's been your experience about like people now that they say that you can't wear masks, like, or that you don't have to, like the people who are still paranoid, it's a hilarious cognitive dissonance, right?
I don't know anybody. I haven't talked to anybody who's I would describe as paranoid about it. So, but like as soon as the mask,
I don't know anybody personally, but
right. So like in North Carolina or in Carteret County anyway, where we're at. So when the North Carolina mask mandate was lifted, literally every mask went away, almost completely. So like you go to
it took a little bit longer here, but it was pretty sudden. I was actually surprised.
Like I think we talked about it. Like I didn't even know what was going down on a Friday. And I had kind of not been wearing a mask for like 3 weeks. Just going, I'm going to stop wearing it where I know I'm okay and I'm not going to freak anybody out. Like at hardware stores, like places like that. I was at a grocery store. I knew it didn't matter. And I walked in there. I was like, holy crap, there's a lot of people in here just completely not wearing a mask. And then like on the way home, I realized that's what happened. I was like, oh, look at that. Today was the day. So but it's been open. It's been way less. And like our church has opened up with now masks that are optional. And there's a few people that choose, and there's a socially distant section. That's good for them. And they're comfortable there. But like the rest of the crowd is crammed in tight, baby, without a mask.
That makes total sense when you think about churches with like large, like elderly populations and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, if your grandma or somebody who's been going to church her whole life wants to go, but you're like, oh, she's had that lung thing a few years ago.
Yeah, man.
That makes sense. Let's have an area for them to be a little bit more.
Yep,
that's just prudent.
Yeah.
It took a little bit longer here in Durham. I remember like, I felt like a trailblazer because I heard the news and I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. So I would just walk around with a mask in my pocket and just see who said something, and nobody has so far. And then as with each day, it's getting less and less. And so like I went into Lowe's to get some stuff, and it's probably about 40% of the people. And I like walked, you go into like the Sheetz gas station, nobody cares. And then the test was I went into Target, like, I think it was like Saturday.
That's a good one.
And, that was even like, it was a couple days ago and it was still 95% masks. Mm-hmm. Like people of all ages, like little kids, cause this, the demographics of people who go to Target. But it was like, I had my kids with me and I'm like, I brought 3 masks just because I didn't want to make a scene in case somebody said something. I could feel the stares. You know what I mean? Like what's that line from Turn the Page? You feel the eyes upon you as you're shaking off the cold. You know what I mean? So
not bad. And I'm a Bob Seger lookalike, so I agree.
But like, and then I saw a guy who was like in like a white butcher's coat, like stacking meat on the shelves, and he wasn't wearing a mask. And then I saw an old lady putting vegetables on the rack, and she wasn't. I was like, all right, well, that's 2 employees. Yeah,
if you see employees not wearing one, you're just like, game over, man. Yeah, it's all bets are off there.
So
yeah,
But it was nice though. I played a show up in Roanoke this past Friday. Huge crowd of people, no masks. It felt like old times again. It was nice.
Yeah, I hope I'm not retelling a story. I know I've told this story, so I hope I'm not retelling it here. But like, my son was sick, so he stayed home for a day. But I had to work, but he wasn't like super sick. He was just kind of coughing. So just like we didn't want to freak anybody out. Just kept him home. But I was like, I gotta work, so you're coming with me. We gotta do a couple errands. I gotta do a sales call. Sit in the truck. You'll be fine. But like we were walking into Lowe's.
I do that frequently.
And he was just like, he's like, Dad, I don't have a mask. I was just like, it's okay. It's fine. He was just like, okay, sure. I was like, it's fine. Listen, just trust me. It's fine. It's safe. No one's gonna care. And like we did it the other day where like we all went to a store and we didn't have them. And like my daughter was like, oh no, where's my mask? We're like, no, relax. It's fine. You don't need it. We're just to go in. We'll come right out. Don't sneeze on anybody. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird.
I can't wait for the think pieces that come out like a decade from now about like what this stuff did to our kids' psychology.
It's not gonna be good. Like like in our part of the country, it's not the same. Like it's not like New York or LA or San Francisco or Chicago or like
where everybody was like shut in. Super
shut in and like completely cut off. Like that's like frighteningly isolated stuff. And that's a rough place to be, man, for those kids.
Yeah,
so, whatever.
That can't be good.
Yeah, you're right though. I am interested to see how that rolls out.
I've heard who was it I was listening to? It was I think it was Jim Brewer talking to Joe Rogan or something the other day, and they were talking about like guys that they knew, like in the comedy world, like, you know, they were saying like, you know, it's, I guess the people that they know, like this. People who are comics are not always the most stable to begin with, right? Like,
oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, and they'll be the first to say that, right? Like, well, we don't get into this business because we're stable, well-adjusted people.
Yeah, otherwise you'd be an accountant. Yeah,
so it's like you take a person who's, you know, they figured out that their talent / profession is being in front of people, you know, 2 or 3 nights a week and getting that high. And then that's, you know, the only thing that keeps them going. And then you throw in the fact that, you know, they're on the road, they're kind of living these solitary lifestyles. And then all of a sudden all that stops. So not only does your income dry up, but also the only thing that gave you like social coolness factor is also gone. You know what I mean? And like the other people that are your friends are in the same boat. And so it's just like, I shudder to think the amount of like suicides and things that happened amongst specifically like performers.
Right.
You know, because that's gotta be, a weird tragedy.
Yeah, that's true. Musicians, comedians, actors, and by actors I mean like theater actors, not like movie actors. Yeah, like
them too.
Well, no, because movies were able to still be made.
Sort of. I mean, I guess you wear masks, the crew and stuff, but I mean,
hey man, Tom Cruise made it happen.
Did he really?
He would kick your ass off that set if you weren't wearing a mask, and you would have shut it down. Did you see that? Did you hear that Tom Cruise rant?
No, I didn't hear that. Tell me that story.
Oh, I mean, that's it. So like there was a thing where there was like a staff meeting or a crew meeting, and Tom Cruise sees a guy not wearing a mask or pulls his mask down, and he just berates him for like 10 minutes. Like it's like expletive laden, but it sounded really rehearsed. It sounded very virtue signally. It was pretty bad. I'll try to find it later and send it to you.
It's like earlier, and then it'd be like earlier that week, and he like calls up like Aaron Sorkin or somebody. He's like, look, I'm anticipating getting mad at somebody. Okay, I need you to write me 3 paragraphs of like really well worded, like maybe a walk and talk if we could do that, you know?
Yeah.
And just have it memorized.
There's going to be a strategically placed cell phone in the room to record my berating of this young gentleman who was like a boom mic operator or something like that.
Yeah. Well, like that Christian Bale story from like, you know, like 12 years ago.
Yeah. Yes.
When they were making the Terminator movie, and he like yelled at the guy who was like in the shot, and he was
freaking actors, man. Jeez.
Well, I think he did it on purpose. I honestly, my opinion is that he kind of knew that movie wasn't going to be that great, and it wasn't really going to do anything for his career. So he was like, but people are going to take me really seriously as an actor. It's going to go like, no press is bad press.
Yep.
You know, he gets his reputation as being like super serious.
Christian Bale. Hey, we're at 40 minutes. We should talk something funny.
All right.
Or something stupid. So I don't know why I thought of this. Okay, so my my daughter, my sister's youngest daughter, my youngest niece, who's not my youngest niece, but it's her daughter. So sorry, that's where I'm clicking.
I'm gonna need a flow chart for that sentence.
Okay, so my sister has 3 daughters. Okay, she was the first of my siblings to have kiddos. So her youngest kid graduated high school today. So like when me and Sally started dating, who's my wife, for those of you who hear this and don't know that, my youngest niece was just born. So like full circle, you know, cats in the cradle, all that kind of thing. So like she just graduated high school. So I was texting with her a little bit, and I was just joking about graduating high school, congratulating her and telling her I'm proud of her and I love her and I miss her. And I sent her the time of your life thing. I was like, the obligatory graduation song. And then I immediately felt 100 years old, because I don't think that's like the obligatory graduation song anymore, but it's still a graduation song. So we got a list here. I'm interested in this. So I didn't really listen to more than like 1 or 2 of these. So Imagine Dragons, which is just terrible music, is apparently got a graduation song. This song, Graduation by Vitamin C, which is the, let me just show that again for anyone who's watching. Them's the skills right there. So that song
that one came out when we were in high school, right?
Yeah, that's like, she's like
99
Disney princessy Pop Tart Britney Spearsy wannabe kind of thing. That era. Not that she's like a Mouseketeer. I don't know if she was, but like, it's that era.
Who, the Vitamin C girl?
Yeah, exactly. Like Vitamin C, Pink, Mandy Moore, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera.
I mean, those are all slightly different, but
no. But the time frame, all the same era.
Right.
That like that TRL era of stuff. You know what I mean? MTV still had music videos and the countdown and all that stuff. But then that song's explicitly written for graduation. So that song is just a money grab.
Another one of those horrendous Paco Bell Cannon ripoffs.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. But also, again, there's that Green Day song. It's still there. It's still on like one of the top graduation songs. And that's just funny to me because it's always time of your life. And everyone's just like, oh, it's so good. Like another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist and directs you where to go. It's very poetic.
What was that song written about? It's like a breakup maybe or something?
Yeah, we'll get there. Yes, it was written about a breakup. It has nothing to do with high school. It's got nothing to do with high school. It's got something to do.
I feel like it's one of those things where the cynicism of the song got lost on a lot of people.
Yeah,
like they didn't realize that the song was called "Good Riddance."
Well, yeah, exactly. So here you go. It's Green Day, but everything is always time of your life. But like again, like you just said, good riddance. Like this song is called "Good Riddance." Like that's what it's called, and in it's time of your life.
I just had like a flashback. I remember like I think it was your birthday, like 9th grade. Literally, like 8 people all sitting around at your house.
Yes,
passing the guitar around, trying to figure out how to play that one. Doom doom bear doo 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 boom doom doo doo. And it's everybody would get mad. And I think you were like the only person who could do it at that point in guitar skills.
Brilliantly, there were so many people that went dun 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 dun, fuck, dun, 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 which is the actual
right.
There was, or probably since we were at a good Christian school, there wasn't a lot of F-bombs dropped, but yeah, I remember that. That's very true. I have a vivid memory of that. We were all hanging out. I had gotten this cheesy Epiphone Les Paul crappy guitar.
Yeah,
and like a little single speaker Marshall amp thing. So that was fun.
I remember that. I played that song with my parents at restaurants. And the thing is that for some reason I had trouble Googling the lyrics or whatever. I just listened to it off the radio, or we did. And so we had the lyrics all wrong. Yeah. I don't remember what we thought the lyrics were to like some of the verses, but they weren't what.
It's actually very few lyrics. There's only 2 verses. And then there's the chorus, which is there's something unpredictable in the end. That's right. I hope you have the time of your life. So that's all it is. Like there's that, and there's like 2 verses. It's really not a long song at all. It's a super short song, but it's got nothing to do with high school, and it's not a positive song. And the song's called Good Riddance. So I also hated high school. So I wish that had been I'd say our high school graduation. I didn't graduate with you because circumstances. And then that's right, folks. I dropped out of high school. I'm homeless. And nah, that's not true.
And
But
now I run a small business.
yeah, but it was funny because I didn't. All right, so I didn't go. Obviously, I didn't graduate with you. I went to another school, and I graduated early because, like Gramercy, there was no electives. You
That's
just
right.
did.
I forgot about
you,
that.
Yeah, you had core classes. That's all it was. So I had to take like 2 courses, and they were like government and environmental studies and like an English class. So I was done, and my mom's like, "Oh, cool, you can come back in like 4 months for graduation." And I was like, "Nah, that's not going to happen, Mom." I was like, "I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm never coming back. I didn't like high school. I don't need to walk this thing." But I went to Sally's the year later, not with Sally. I went actually to go see another friend, and the dude who they sang this song as their song in like a different key, like capoed up like 4, because apparently he couldn't sing in the Billy Joe Armstrong Green Day range, which is like gutter punk, and you can't pull that off. I don't know how, but that's just how it went down.
That's funny.
I don't know. Maybe it's just he was more of a falsetto, but it was good. But I remember that I was just like, God, this song's not a graduate. I remember thinking it then. I was just like, this song's not a graduation song. It's not good. It's not good for that. I hated, like, this is bad, and the stop here is abrupt, and we're moving on, and F it. It all sucked. So good riddance. It's done. And I don't need to think about this again.
Yeah, it's maybe you could, but the music is so like it feels very sentimental, especially with the little string quartet in there.
It's definitely sentimental. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So it strikes me that like that was an ironic choice on their part, and everybody else it was like whoosh, they missed the point. You know what I mean?
They missed the point. Yes. Well, see, and that's why it's funny because when I hear it, I go, it's the perfect high school graduation song. Because high school sucks and it's stupid and it's pointless.
It's so ridiculous. It's ridiculously sentimental and cheesy.
Yes, and like you have all these memories about it, and you're like, oh, it was so great. No, it wasn't. It was terrible. It's not good. It's not. It's you liked it only because you knew no better. You knew better. You knew no better.
Right.
And then it's sad when there's like people our age are like, high school was the best time of my life. Like, dude, you gotta move on. Go join a bowling league or something. Like, do something else. Get out of high school. And I don't think there's that many people who really, well, maybe there are, and maybe that's just a terrible stereotext. And that's not.
I've known some people. I've known like and I won't name names or whatever, but like people who are older.
In the text chat, you will. I want to know names.
Dan is naming names. No, but
your high school and our high school was like 7 people. So this is good.
Well, I'm not talking about any of those people, but I mean like people I've known like in Durham. Like I remember I forget who I was talking to the other day. It was like I remember being like I was playing a gig and I saw this like group of birthday people. Like it was like a 30 people wide group of like a birthday. I'm like I don't know how much work it would take for me to organize 30 people to come to a birthday party. Because it's like everybody I know like lives all over the place, right? And like even the people I know who I don't necessarily like all those people, but it's like every single one of these people lived in the same town and they're all in their 50s and they never moved away. And it was like, the idea that they have these social structures, like everybody became great friends. The guy who was the alpha male in 1978 is still the alpha in 2018.
Huh.
And the same, you know what I mean? And I remember overhearing some stories and it's like, yeah, well, she always had a thing for him, but he married her over here and they were, sweethearts. I'm like, what decade are we in? Like,
that's weird, man.
It's this whole, like, I feel like there's a whole subset of the population that like, it's like those, I've said this before, like those people who never discover a new band after the age of 20. Yeah. Like, I look, when I was in high school, I liked Boston, Van Halen, Aerosmith, and Eddie Money. And there's no new bands after that. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's people are with their social structures. You know what I mean? And so like when your brain is still forming and you're like all the rush, and it's like, I fell in love for the first time, or I thought I did. And then like, you know what I mean? You're like all that drama and it like cements itself, like a sedimentary, like almost like when a volcano erupts and there's like a layer of sediment in the ground and it's permanently in the record. That's how people are with their graduations.
Yeah, that's really good. I think I agree with that. Yeah. That's funny, man, because it's goofy too, because like we're high school friends, and our other friend Jeremy's a high school friend, and we all still talk. And then when we talk about high school, we joke about it, but it's never like, man, we had it all together. Like it's normally like that was the dumbest thing that ever possibly could have happened.
Yeah, and that's not a knock on any one specific, but it was just like, well, nobody knows what the hell they're doing with themselves.
Exactly.
When they're 17, 18.
No,
so the
there's
idea that you would hopefully, if your life is going well, or like if you're doing things with your life, hopefully you're not looking back wistfully at the age of 18, being like, that was when things were great.
right.
'Cause that means
Right.
you haven't done anything in the intervening decades.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's one thing to look back fondly and to have good memories, but it's one thing to pine for those as days gone by. That right. I agree.
It's like the theme song from Cheers. If you actually look up the lyrics, it's a really depressing song.
It
Because
is.
it's like something I don't even remember the lyrics, but it's like, a guy, it's like your work is trouble, like, or problems with the wife. Don't you just need to get away? And then you watch that show and you're like, they didn't have smartphones or anything. Like literally the best thing they could think of to do was to go to this little hole in the wall bar in Boston and sit there and just drink pints. And well, I guess it's time for bed. You know what I mean? There was the guy, Norm, had a wife, you know what I mean? And like, he never wanted to talk to her or anything. And it's like, I don't know. But anyway, that's a cheery little song. Everybody knows your name. It's like, it's all nice and stuff, but it's a really depressing idea when you think about it.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Holy crap, Dan. I'm reading these lyrics. 1, 2, 3. So the fourth chorus is roll out of bed, Mr. Coffee's dead. The morning's looking bright. And in parentheses, it's the morning's looking bright. Because that's exactly what they do. And your shrink ran off to Europe and didn't even write. And your husband wants to be a girl. Be glad there's only one place in the world where everybody knows your name. That song invoked transgenderism in 1987.
No, it was earlier than that. It was like 81, 82.
Oh God, I don't know. Maybe that's when it ended. I have no idea.
Ahead
It
of
was
its
an 80s
time.
show. Dude, you wake up and your husband wants to be a girl.
Oh, sidebar. Look up the lyrics to the MASH theme song.
Oh, MASH sucks. I can
No,
care less.
but the song doesn't have lyrics. Like, it's an
Right,
instrumental.
it's
Da-na-na-na. Yeah, but it was originally a song that had lyrics, and supposedly it's "Suicide is Painless" is the name of the song.
Oh, I knew that. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I did know that. Mostly because it's a Family Guy joke. That's sad, but that's
maybe
how I knew
that might be where I heard that. I don't know.
Because suicide is painless. Yep, I'm aware of that.
Or like, what's that song from the Poseidon Adventure? There's got to be a morning after. It was actually pretty groundbreaking. So like the idea of there being like sort of an Oscar bait big hit movie that had like a soundtrack song.
Yeah.
It like basically did the Titanic thing like 25 years before that. So it was this depressing disaster movie where literally everyone dies. But there was this like cheery little pop song, and it was like a huge radio hit, and it sold like millions of copies. But it's this like cheery little song that's about like, the context was that everybody dies. So
Right. God, the Titanic song. That should have been a graduation song. Not really. I got nothing. I got nothing. All right,
what
dude.
would be funny is if they took that, have you seen those videos where they take the Titanic song and right where it does the big whoosh, the big swell into the last chorus where it changes. So they put that with everything, like somebody making a 3-pointer or like,
exactly. Yes,
somebody doing a cool spiral on a skateboard or just whatever. But the hilarious thing to do would be to take that at somebody's graduation, like as the thing is happening, every time like somebody gets a diploma and then it does the swell music and then it goes off and then they do it exact. So they play the same 15 seconds of audio.
It's just like,
oh my God.
It never ends. It never ends. I don't care how near, far, and however you are, whatever. Kill me now. let me go, Jack or Rose, whoever goes. All right, it's been 53 minutes and enough. That was good.
Yeah, we've spoken enough truth to power for one day.
We have been, Dan, and I hope this has been the podcast of your life.